First of all, I just want to start by where the true work of all this comes in, and that's our coaching staff. And this really kind of started, and I say this every year, but 18 months ago when we really are identifying juniors in their junior year, and then start putting our list together, and this is no different in this class, and identifying guys that fit our program and the makeup of who we are at Washington State and what we're building here. And it's been a quality class. We've had a lot of early commitments in this year's recruiting process. The majority held on, which was really good to see, and a lot of them fit our needs, obviously. And our coaches have, starting with Rich Rasmussen, who coordinates this whole thing. We're just tireless workers like we've been since we've gotten here, and have done a nice job putting this class together. And a lot of families didn't see their dads for a long time because there's a lot of road work and a lot of time to put this class together. But overall, it's a very good class. A lot of times when you sign more linemen than you sign skill guys, it doesn't look as flashy, which is okay, because when you win games, it's the guys that aren't flashy that win games, and we've got some linemen in this class that are sorely needed, and I think we've got a good balance of a few junior college players and high school players, and there still could be a couple more that still come our way before it's all said and done here over the next few months regarding linemen. So, but a very good class, and thanks goes to the coaches that have put in all the work to get this done and accomplished.
Coach, you want to just give a brief comment on each?
Yeah, I will, and I'm going to start on our list and work alphabetically and going down. And first one, Cody Clemens, our quarterback. We saw Cody this summer. Saw a lot of his junior film, and I think initially when you watch his film and you hadn't seen him in person, you think he's not a real big guy. And the first time we saw Cody in person, we were quite surprised on really how big he is. He's a solid 6'2", 205 pounds right now, and eventually he'll be a 215, 220-pound guy. We think just our kind of guy. He's athletic. He's extremely tough, a high-end competitor. Just one of those guys, a high-end person as well, and a leader. And I think he's going to be kind of the hidden gem in this whole class. I know quarterbacks get a lot of publicity, but this guy's going to be a really good football player. He's going to force the issue with the quarterbacks in our program, and the level of play at the position is going to rise because of this young man. We envision that he'll clearly redshirt in his first year, and then we'll go from there. But we're very excited about Cody. David Davis, obviously the grandson of Willie Davis, former great Hall of Famer at the Green Bay Packers. David is a young player, young in age, but he's a very thick player. He's a 6'1", 200 and probably 80 to 90-pound guy right now, and he's going to create a lot of strength for us in our defensive line, defensive tackle position. He's got good explosiveness and great person as well. David's going to be a great asset in our defensive line. You can't get enough young defensive linemen or linemen. Ramel Dockery, Ramel we've known of quite some time. He's one of those flashy, explosive players, can make big plays. We think immediately could be a punt returner for us, and will help us obviously in the as a receiver. And we would anticipate him helping right away. But Ramel is very electrifying. He's going to give us some explosiveness and playmaking ability that we've been searching in our recruiting since we've gotten here, and we're starting to collect some explosive playmakers in our program, and Ramel's definitely got an opportunity to do that. Henry Edie, Henry's committed to us a long time ago. He's already in school. Again, watching Henry, he'll be one of the fastest players on our football team right now. He has an excellent chance of contributing right away this fall, primarily because he's here and primarily because he gets to go through spring football. And his speed is going to be hard to keep off the football field. So we'll see how that progresses with Henry, but very excited about him. Rico Forbes is from the Bahamas and came to the United States, I believe, his junior year in high school, but was a defensive lineman his first year of junior college, and was originally a signee of Baylor out of high school. and ended up at the junior college and has only played 1 year of offensive line. But very big, Rico's all of 6'6", 290 pounds, athletic, pretty raw. He's here on campus lifting and training. Our goal would be to redshirt Rico, give an opportunity to go through 2 spring footballs, 1 fall, and then play as a junior and senior. We're hoping that can happen, but the sky's the limit. He's got all the potential in the world to be a very special player. He's just got a lot of work and getting acquainted to the position. Max Gamma, we've always liked, great kid, great tough guy that's going to be able to help us on defense. He's physical. He's a tough kid that can maybe play a few different spots, safety / outside linebacker. The plan, though, right now with Max is to gray shirt Max, that he'd have an opportunity to continue to get bigger and stronger and then come in and enroll next January. Matt Getz started his career off at Texas Tech and then spent the last year and a half at the junior college at Navarro. Was a starter there. He's got some good size and a good tough streak. What we like about Matt is he can be here this summer and he's got 3 years to play. So he's a 3-for-3 guy, and he should give us instant depth and a potential to start at somewhere in the offensive line on the inside 3 at center guard. And so he's got an opportunity to come in and make a pretty quick impact. Max Hersey, we've had in camp. He's a true Cougar through and through. Offered him last year on signing day. Called me as I was heading into Northwest Casino a few hours later and committed. And there's been no wavering at all. And he is an excellent Cougar and will be an excellent player. Now, he could be on the defensive line. Right now we're thinking tight end, but he's an athletic, tough guy that loves the game and has got a great motor. Ian Knight is an athletic defensive end that is from Wichita, Kansas. Will give us some speed. We've definitely need more speed in our pass rushing ability on our defensive line, and he's here on campus. Expect a lot out of Ian right off the bat. Brock Lutz, right now we envision is going to be an outside linebacker or even a tight end. Brock is extremely good athlete. Had him in camp and had a great evaluation of Brock, and sky's the limit with him. He's blessed with a lot of physical ability. We just need him to hone in on a position, and that might be something we have to figure out through the first year. Marcus Mason, somebody we found late, kind of a late developer. Very excited about Marcus. He gives us excellent speed and explosiveness out of the backfield. I think between he and Ricky Galvin, 2 young running backs, give us the speed and quickness we've been seeking and playmaking ability out of the backfield. But I also like the fact that Marcus is going to come in and have an opportunity to learn from guys like Carl Winston and Arthur Burns and LaGuan Mitz, and the competition there's going to be fierce, and they're going to have to really compete to play, and that's something we've needed at the position, and we're going to have that, and Marcus is going to give that to us. Logan Mays is someone we've known about a long time, and he's just a fanatic. He's a football junkie. He's an excellent student. He's going to give you everything he's got, so you know what you're going to get, and that's effort all the time. And he's going to be in the right place at the right times, and we envision him to be kind of a hybrid defensive end / outside linebacker. We'll see how that unfolds. But a tireless worker and someone that we're going to need to contribute quick. Taylor Meehan, offensive lineman that's here, brought him in to compete at center, and we'll see how Taylor progresses. But he shows some really good signs on his film and at junior college, and so we're excited to have Taylor. Alex Mitchell is another lineman we found that we like. He's extremely athletic and tough. Could help us again inside as the center guard area. He's got some work to do still academically to make up. He's got a plan. We're hoping that he can follow through with that, but has a chance to be an awfully good player. Daryl Monroe, we've had a commitment from Daryl for a long time, linebacker from Dr. Phillips High School in Orlando. Always have liked it up here. He's going to bring us some attitude and some real physical play at the linebacker position. As much as we run the football in this conference, our linebackers and D-line have got to be able to be stronger, stouter, more physical than we've been, and he's going to add that to our program. Isaiah Myers, to me, is, if people want to know how to compare him, he's a smaller version of Marquise Wilson in terms of body type and how he runs routes, how he looks in his movements. He needs to get bigger and stronger. but he's very fluid. He's got great ball skills, intelligent guy. His brothers at Notre Dame, stepbrothers at Notre Dame, and comes from a football family and got a good football IQ. We're really excited about Isaiah. Daryl Paulo, someone that got committed to us recently. Very excited to have Daryl. Was fairly highly recruited amongst our conference. It's great to get into Sacramento and get a player out of Grant High School. Daryl's a good student, and his size says he's 250, but he's closer to 275 right now. He's going to be a defensive end. Who knows what else he could grow into, but he's an excellent athlete, tough player, really a good football player. Very excited to have Daryl, along with TJ Huala. TJ is a big, thick kid, just turned 17 in November, so he's young. He's still going to keep growing. He's going to be a 300-pounder here in a few months, probably, but very tough, physical guy. Again, gives us some more strength inside and gives us some young athletic defensive tackles. Tana Pritchard, again, excellent athlete. Could be a linebacker, could be a tight end type of guy. High-end character player, smart, just an excellent athlete. Guy comes from a great football family and great genes, and he's going to bring a lot to our program, not just on the football field, but everything else he brings as a person, and he's going to be an outstanding player for our program. Chester Sua, maybe is as talented as we've ever signed here. Chester's a running back / linebacker, will be linebacker for us in our plans. He's kind of a total package. He's got size, big size. He's got great instincts, tremendous toughness and aggression, can run. Could see him playing right away. He's definitely a guy that is an impact player, I believe, on our football team, and it'll be a matter of time before he's an impact player in this conference. Wendell Taisi is a guy that a lot of people didn't recruit because a year ago at this time his grades were out of whack from not doing well as a freshman and sophomore. Took a lot of summer school, has done a great job making up classes, retaking classes, doing good on his test score. And next thing you know, he's got a plan, and it looks like he's made up a lot of groundwork and has an excellent chance of making his grades and being a qualifier. And a massive guy. He's all of 6'6", and he's all of 340, and but a very talented guy. He's a guy that averaged over 50 yards a punt, and some of the other things he's done. He's a heck of an athlete. Again, somebody, and I don't say this very often, but somebody that could play right away just because of his size and strength. We'll see how that unfolds, but Wendell's going to help us again in the offensive line. Spencer Wasim has been committed to us for a long time out of Florida. Really like his speed, toughness, and aggression. A very physical corner, not a big one in stature, but plays big. And his competitiveness and toughness is going to bring a lot to our cornerback position. He's somebody that could play early just because of those attributes I mentioned. Dominic Williams, really a fine young kid, great person, and an excellent athlete. He's kind of built between Marquise Wilson and Christoph Williams. He's about 6'3", and the weight's accurate. Is going to be an outstanding player. Needs the weight room, but he's another big receiver that our quarterbacks are going to be able to use. And then Leonard Williams, another defensive end, an extremely excellent athlete. Got great speed. He's got good size and strength. He's someone that will make an impact, we believe, this fall. And very excited about his athleticism. Along with Ian Knights in terms of junior college guys. And Leonard is originally from South Carolina, and Leonard's going to be a player we're going to rely on just because of his size, strength, and speed, and he's a great kid as well. So we're excited to have him on board, and I would expect him to definitely get in the mix at the defensive end position from day one.
It seemed like you went pretty heavy with JC linemen. Do you expect them to contribute next? I mean, most of them, just some of them.
I think some. I think we'll redshirt a few, and some will play. And we ideally would always want to redshirt guys, but we had a plan a little bit here. The fact that we have 4 seniors in our offensive line, that if we bring in a couple junior college guys, that the idea would actually be to redshirt them. So they would have 2 years of eligibility when these seniors do leave. So we have some age and maturity in our program to fill in with some young high school guys that are currently in our program and the ones that are coming in. So we're excited about a couple walk-on offensive linemen we got coming in that we think a couple years down the road have a chance to play here as well. They got great potential, and so we just want to keep bringing in guys and developing them and slotting them in the right years so we don't get out of whack with our numbers at certain classes. So we feel like we're starting to balance our numbers good at the position. We still need to continue to recruit some offensive linemen. You'll see us sign probably 4 or 5 again in next year's class. Ideally all high school guys. And so it'll be another year of recruiting heavy in the offensive line this next year's class.
And on the defensive side, you have some guys that redshirted last year, like Tony Poley and some of these kids you're bringing in. Do you see some moving around, maybe Brandon Rankin moving back outside, kind of stuff? What's going on there?
We're going to see how that all unfolds and who's healthy, who's playing, and what flexibility we have with scheme and to fit our talent. But different things could happen in that manner. A lot of it all depends on who steps up and who's playing well and where our depth lies in our defensive line. And on paper right now, you're going to say we have more players at our defensive tackle position than we do at defensive end. So we're just going to have to kind of wait and see, get through the winter, get through spring football, and evaluate kind of where our players are at.
Coach, kind of expanding on your opening statement, you addressed some of the needs that the school needed, so just kind of reiterate, what did you go after, and do you feel like you got that in this class?
Well, we do. As a coach, I think you always feel like you can add a few more pieces to every puzzle, and I think we would like to add a couple more linemen if possible. But I do think a few things. We were able to add some more speed and depth at the receiver position that we liked. We added speed at the running back position. We added some more size and athleticism in our offensive line, and another big issue for us was our returners. We need to have more explosiveness from our return game, kickoff and punt return. And with Henry Eady back in our program now, Blair Barmer coming off a red shirt, Ramel Dockery, guys that have shown explosiveness from returning kicks and punts, I think that's going to help us a lot. And there's a lot of yards left on that football field that we need to get more out of our kickoff return and punt return game. And I think that's going to help our offense this next year, and I think those are areas we shored up. And then on defense, really we're more focused in our front, meaning our defensive line and linebacking core, than we were in our back end. If you look at our last 2-3 years, we've signed a lot of secondary players. This was a year we didn't have to, and we're young there. We've got good depth in our secondary at this point, so we wanted to focus our scholarships in our linebacking core and our defensive line.
You said depth a couple of times, and I'm sure that's nice for you to be able to say. Can you just talk about maybe how the fact that you've had some of that has allowed you to maybe go after different needs? Yeah,
it's allowed us to go after guys, and with an idea we can redshirt some guys, even though, like junior college guys. Most of the time people think you recruit a junior college because you need immediate need. Well, that is the case in a lot of the times, but I think in this situation there are some areas where we do need them to play right away, but there's some areas where we're looking ahead a couple of years here and realizing that we need to redshirt them because we're going to have a lacking gap a year from now. So that's kind of the idea behind the junior college idea. When you can redshirt a junior college player, most of the time it works out. You get 2 quality years out of them. If they got to play in their first year, unfortunately, it's such a learning process that first year. You get 1 really quality year of experience under their belt, and then they're gone. And ideally, you'd love to get 2 years out of them, and the way to do that is obviously to be able to redshirt them.
You see Dockery as a wide receiver?
Yeah, absolutely. He'll be a receiver for us, and I look at guys like young players like those guys that got that tremendous speed, a Blair Balmer, a Henry Eady, a Ramel Dockery. Those guys have got excellent speed and quickness, and they're gonna add a lot more burst to our offense.
Coach, I know you in the past you've obviously expressed a desire to continue to redshirt kids coming in, and you mentioned a few that can make an immediate impact next year, but at the same time, is that number starting to shrink a little bit of guys you have to force out there a little?
Yeah, there's no question. We've been able to, you look at this list and I know we can redshirt a number of them. Primarily it's because of what we have in our program, but there are some that still have to play. We're still this class. We're going to probably expect some guys to have to play, not a lot, but a few, and then a year from now, you could probably honestly say the majority of the players will redshirt. When you look at our potential starting roster this next year, we're only talking 1 or 2 on defense or 2 or 3 on offensive seniors. So that when they leave, we're not have to replace a lot of guys that start, which means that the young guys will be able to redshirt a year from now coming in, so the fall of 12 class. So we'll just get ourselves caught up to our numbers, to our depth, and I feel really good about that. I think it's been a lot of hard work to get to this point, to keep building your program, and we're really close to that, and that's what I'm very excited about.
You mentioned the fact that you're starting to maybe recruit just a little bit differently because you can look a little further down the road. You might not have to find those immediate pieces, but is this the first year where you really feel that might be the case, where you can look a little ahead instead of trying to fill those holes right now?
Yeah, it is. It's the first year we've been able to truly recruit a few guys and say he's definitely can redshirt, because we've got guys in his place that will allow him to redshirt. And it's the first year, and it's not fully yet, but a year from now we can fully say that. The other thing about looking for the future is you got to envision our facilities and what our facilities are going to look like here in a year and a half, and start being able to recruit to our facilities a little bit. Attacking players and recruits and saying that, hey, you can come in and play immediately isn't going to be the case as we move forward. And so, what's the next best thing we got to entice them to come? Well, one, our program and how it's run and being part of a quality program, but also have the facilities to attract them too. So, that's going to be a big part of our next phase in growth with our football program.
You got 6 guys in here already, I think.
Yeah.
Are you counting some of them to last year's class?
We're just counting one.
Okay.
But there's actually 7 guys here that started this January, which I know is a record. I believe 3 or high school players that graduated early. We have 1 gray shirt and Xavier Cooper, which would be the 4th. And then we have the 3 junior college players, the 2 offensive linemen and the 1 defensive lineman. So those are our 7. And I know it's by far the most that have ever been a mid-year start, and that's great. And in this changing world of college football, you got to be on the cutting edge and push the button as early as you can. More and more players are starting early like this, and it makes a difference. And we are going to take advantage of it, and particularly with the players that are ready and willing to do so.
I don't want to say disappointed, but not a whole lot of talent coming out of the state of Washington. Is that different?
Not really. I think there's some years where there's more than others, obviously, and there's still a few players we're out there looking at, potentially in this class. But right now we like the guys that we got, and this was not a huge year up and down the coast for offensive linemen. And I think if you talk to every school, it was kind of a little bit of an issue in terms of numbers. You look forward, and there's actually a lot of linemen in the West Coast this next year that are juniors in high school now. So things kind of go in waves sometimes in regions and in areas. And in terms of Division I, Pac-10 now, soon to be Pac-12 players in the state of Washington, there probably wasn't as many this year as there normally is. But that, again, it cycles, and some years there's a lot more than others. This year wasn't a huge year with it.
I know that it seemed like the day kind of went according as planned, nothing too surprising, but within the last week or 2 you did lose a couple of your top commits. If I recall, you did have a pretty strong opinion about maybe other schools coming in and attacking your guys last year, and right. I'm assuming that hasn't changed.
No, I think the system is somewhat flawed, and what I mean by that is every other sport has 2 signing periods or an early signing period, except football, and the other sports don't have this flip-flopping situation that goes on like football, and I think we're just sending a real bad message. In our own programs, all the coaches expect their players to be accountable, do the right thing, honor their word, do what they're told, and respect each other. But then at the same time, the same coaches are telling these players before they get to their program that your word doesn't mean anything, and you should switch your commitment and this and that. Well, it's just such a double standard, and it's very hypocritical, and so that's the message that's so wrong. And we need to fix that, and the way to fix it is to have an earlier signing date so we eliminate half of the issues. And then by the time you get to the second signing date, you're probably not going to have a kid that has been committed. They're still making up their mind, and we can eliminate a lot of this stuff because it puts people in a bind. The combination of players leaving early into the draft and then someone's committed to you and you have that position locked up, so you quit recruiting other people at the position, then they leave you, and then you're stuck with nothing. That's really tough to plan for, and that's what makes it hard. So it'd be easier, like all the other sports do, to be able to solidify that, and so everybody can know where they stand and can fill their needs when they want to.
I don't know exactly how much you can go into it, but it was a kind of a publicized thing on a couple of the kids you did lose.
Mm-hmm.
Did you foresee that coming at all, and did it cause you to kind of scramble at that last second, as you're kind of saying you maybe change a few things?
Yeah, just the two, the one locally, it was not a surprise in terms of, we kind of knew that there was the possibility for quite a while, and that happens, and it's going to happen to every school. And so it's not like just us, and so that's just part of the deal. And the other two that are California prospects, one was a surprise because it happened in the last few days. The other one a week or two ago, and you look where they end up signing. One probably going to end up signing where people think he's going to sign, but those things happen. But you also, after a while, you get a feel for a player when they're in a stressful situation like that. And when they become really uncertain and they get confused and they don't have good advice, you start to wonder, is that kid going to even be able to make it in college just because of how they're handling the situation? And if that is the case, and sometimes you think, maybe it's best he doesn't come. And I've seen that, play out too. So, we just let it go. You take the players who want to be Cougars and you move forward. And it's more important to develop what you have than it is worrying about what you get on that signing date, to be quite honest. And our focus now is on the Cougars that are Cougars and getting them to be the best they can be.
For a program, though, and you mentioned a lot of guys on here that had, signed or been interested for a long time and had committed, that relies on that, and you guys get in there early. How difficult is that to keep up with maybe another program that can come in after you've done the legwork and maybe grab that kid?
Yeah, that happens, and that's the frustrating thing, you do all the work to get them, and if anything, sometimes you sit down with their counselors and you map out an academic game plan to make sure that, at the end of their junior year, their senior year, you're helping them, take the right courses and make sure they're in the right certain classes to be qualifiers, and you do the work, and then at the end, when they're ready, someone else takes them and they've done nothing. Sure, that frustrates anybody, particularly the recruiting coach, and those things happen, but. And some of the people that believe in that just say, "Well, that's recruiting." Well, it's not recruiting. That's in their eyes, that's recruiting, but it's not. And I think we can alleviate a lot of that heartache if we do, have an earlier signing date like the other sports.
The emotional question: Are you excited today?
Yeah, I'm very excited. And I know our players are. And I mentioned this about our coaches working hard. I left some people out here. Our staff here, Bill Moose, has been so involved in this recruiting process with players on campus. He's gone out of his way and canceled things to make sure he met with our recruits. That's been very critical for them to see the future, what we're doing here, and the excitement within the building. And then our current players. These players, a lot of these guys come here because the work is for us coaches to get them here. And then the players' jobs to finalize that. And they've done a phenomenal job recruiting other players to make them feel welcome and comfortable and that they're going to be part of a big family and something special. And that's why we're getting a lot of these guys. And that's a tribute to the character of our current roster. And so those guys have done an outstanding job of recruiting the other players on our team.
Fans now have kind of up-to-the-minute information and unprecedented access to players through Twitter and Facebook. How have you seen the recruiting landscape change in the last couple of years?
It's changed quite a bit. Some of these players get so inundated from Facebook messages and all these other sites that it gets very confusing. If anything, it just puts more stress on the recruits because they're being inundated in every which way. When before cell phones were out there was really nothing. And then cell phones, and then obviously all the other social networks. I think it's only created more stress for the recruits that are being recruited, and I don't think that's healthy, and I don't think that's right. And the other thing that happens that we're noticing is these guys get so inflated, whether it's their ego and or just the attention that they're given, that it's such a drop-off when they show up on campus because they're not treated the same way. And we do our best not to go that route. We try not to give them so much hype and so much information. So when they do come, they're so disappointed because a lot of them are, and then they hit rock bottom, and then they got to dig themselves back up, and because the attention isn't going to be the same. And so I think it's misleading to the players and the recruits, and they're not old enough to handle it.
24 names on this list we have in front of us. You expect more?
Yeah, I could see a few more that could be added to this list between today and it just depends on what happens out there right now.
You guys good in here? Mm-hmm. We'll take questions on the line.
Yeah, Paul, can you talk a little about Xavier Cooper? Is he a kid that you think can play right away this year?
Well, we would love for him to help. We haven't had him in pads or anything like that. I know he's working out and doing a really good job in the weight room for a young guy, and we're anxious to see him on the football field and see how he develops through spring practice. And I think after then we'll have a better idea what his ability to help this next fall will be.
Is he more of an end or a tackle?
We'll probably start him at end, and then we'll just see how that unfolds. And his size is good. He's 265 pounds right now, and he's got a frame to be bigger than that. So he's working hard. I do know that, and being so young, who knows? We'll see where he ends up.
Was Dockery a down to the wire situation?
Yeah, it was. We didn't know until when it got released here. So we knew it was between us and Oregon State, and it was back and forth. And not until we got the word from the press conference they had at Curtis High School that he was coming that we knew. So he did not give us a call, or no one gave us a call. We actually heard via some people that were at the press conference that we were his choice.
The last staff kind of fell down with a heavy emphasis on junior college kids the last 2 or 3 years, and it'd be a slippery slope. I mean, do you have to do maybe more homework there?
Yeah, you do, and you have to do a little bit more homework with those guys. And we feel that the character of these junior college players that we have signed this year is very good. I think if you meet them, you would see the same thing. And the other part of it is some of them will redshirt and will get more value. We're not signing them just to fill a hole and needing them to start right away. It's just, we're fortunate enough to where we're not signing them for those purposes necessarily. If one can emerge as a starter and earn his way to a starting position, I think then that's a great thing, and that means he's prepared to do so. But this by no means is signing a junior college player for a dire need. It's more or less to add depth. Hopefully one can play extremely well and be a starter, and the others can redshirt and to give us even more depth and experience a year from now with 2 quality years to play.
And how many of those kids would have three to play 2?
All of them do except Leonard Williams. Leonard will have 2 years to play 2, and so he's the only one. The rest are 3 for 2s. Other than Matt Getz, he's a 3 for 3 guy.
On the connection to Florida, I guess Chris Ball has been pretty instrumental there. Just how difficult is it to, knowing how competitive that scene is, how difficult is it to make a meaningful there?
It is difficult. I'll tell you how it started. Mark Rippon gave me a call and said he has a really good friend that coached down in the Orlando area that, and so we got in contact with him, and then Chris had recruited a little bit down there along with Dave Unger previously, and there's a pocket down there in that Orlando area that those kids are very rural kids. They're not from inner city, or they're not from those areas, and Pullman was a very nice fit for them. They really liked Pullman and the college campus. They didn't like the city, don't want the city. So those kids came here and just absolutely fell in love with the place with their parents. And so that helped, and Chris did an outstanding job creating early relationships with those guys last spring, and then just keep pressing forward until they got very comfortable.
And there was obviously a lot buzzing around the last season about your job security, Paul. I mean, was that something you had to overcome on the recruiting trail, or did you find kids asking about that?
Yeah, kids ask about that, and it is something you have to overcome, particularly when all the other schools are trying to use that and to recruit against you. And so it does weigh very heavily on kids' minds and parents, because they ask those questions and it's fueled by other coaches. And, that's the ugly part of the recruiting that goes on in this thing, and a lot of it. And when you sit down and explain to the parents and the kids exactly kind of what has taken place from the day I got here, and told them what we've had to overcome from issues off the field and limited scholarships from 72, 73 the first 2 years, and then 77. They get it, and they understand that we weren't very good and why we weren't. But they see the growth, and they spend time with Bill Moose, and they get very comfortable on where we're headed in the football program in the future. And so that really alleviated a lot of the negative recruiting that was being targeted towards us.
Paul, how do you feel about the running back situation next year, and how's Ricky doing?
Ricky is still recovering. He's doing extremely well. He's cleared to lift. We envision he'll be 100%, without question. And then we've got LaGuan Mitz, who needs to take a big step as a senior. He needs to play like a senior should. Carl Winston hopefully will be healthy. He battled a hamstring injury on and off all season. Arthur Burns just get another year of experience, I think, will help. And then Marcus Mason has an opportunity to make a difference. His quickness and speed, again, like I said, hopefully will help us there. So I feel pretty good about it. I'd like to add maybe one more running back to this class. But we have other ways to get the running game going. We've got some guys like Henry Eady and Blair Bomber that can carry the ball in different ways, and we can get some run game out of them. So, we'll see. We'll see how that unfolds. But I like it, and there's no question we need to go out and sign 1 or 2 running backs next year, and we'll do that.
I know you said from the beginning, Paul, you really weren't counting on Montgomery getting a hardship here and stuff. Has he decided if he's even going to try to pursue it, or are you guys pursuing it? Or
we've talked about it, and I think once we finished with today, we'll spend more time this next week kind of reviewing the options of that scenario, and so we'll go from there once we sit down and discuss that this next week.
Still feel it's a real long shot?
No, I think it's actually a better shot to get it than I originally thought, or we originally thought. So, again, we got to work through the details and get all the information put together to see what our case can be.
So the report out of Fresno, Butler is going to go to Fresno State?
Yeah, he's got.
When did you guys learn that? And what's your feeling?
Well, we had an idea a week or two ago when we saw a Fresno coach talking to him at Grant High School when I was there. But there's just a lot of, he's got a lot of issues academically he's got to overcome. So I would still say there's a long shot for him to make it academically.
Any other questions on the line?
Where are you looking for a defensive line coach, Paul?
There's been no announcement on any of that, whether we need one or not. Right now, we're just moving ahead with our staff and our players.
Can I take that to mean you've got a guy picked? You just haven't announced him yet?
No, can't take it as anything.
Any other questions in the room?
Yeah, Coach, just one more. I heard that, I don't know if it was just a rumor or not, but I heard Pritchard was over at Doc Reese's press conference. Was one of your newest kids doing a little bit of legwork for you?
Yeah, I think he was there, and they are, I believe, related, and so they know each other. And but yeah, I had heard that, and so yeah, Tana's already recruiting. He's going to be a great asset to Cougar football. in a lot of ways, like I said.